FIU this week, got to go on the road again. Got a good win last week down at Old Dominion, trying to keep the streak going. Our guys are in great spirits. It was good to get the monkey off the back and get the win, and guys are really pumped up and starting to dive into the meat of conference play. And it's always hard to go on the road and get a good win like we did last week, and so we need to recreate that again, and I know our guys will be ready to play. With that said, questions?
Coach, 6 games in now, 6 regular season games to go. I guess body of work up to this point, how would you evaluate where you guys are at?
Well, the record isn't what we want it to be, but I do think because of the level of competition we played, I think it's, you heard me say sharper than knife before. I think we're sharper for playing that level of competition, and hopefully, we'll have to see in the last half of the season how that pays off for us. Hopefully it will. I feel like our best football is still ahead of us. I don't think we're anywhere close to playing a complete game as a team. I felt like we were much improved last week, and we're getting there. But I still think we have a lot of good football to play. And once we can hit on all cylinders, I'd really like to see what we can do. So the second half of the season, that's going to be exciting for me to see. Can we get on a roll, get on a winning streak, and play really good team football?
What you're talking about sharpening the knife, the defense probably had their best game Saturday. I guess what are your overall takeaways from that, and I guess what are your thoughts going into FIU, what you can work on this week?
Well, I think number one, they created turnovers, and that was huge for us. They got after the quarterback, made him turn the ball over, and that's what you do when you play good defense. And with all our offensive style of play to match that with how our defense was playing, that's really big. So we got to recreate that week in and week out. I thought our defense really was playing with great passion. I thought scheme-wise there was some things that we were able to correct from the previous weeks that we got fixed, so that was good to see. We just got to do it week in and week out now. But I think our best football is ahead of us defensively. I think we can get a lot better. I know our guys know they can get a lot better. And so hopefully we can carry that momentum into this week.
Defensively, you look at Will Hicknott. His numbers were just crazy. 2 sacks. He had that pick late in the game. D'Angelo Malone, I believe he forced the fumble. You look at those guys, those two in particular, how vocal have they been as far as leadership goes on defense?
Well, I think, your best players should make those plays, and it's good to see Will's making those plays and D'Angelo doing his thing. And both those guys kind of just lead by example. They're not very vocal guys, but a lot of guys stepped up last week. You look at Kincaid with, he had some big plays, got the big interception. We had the sack fumble, in the game where Jeremy Darvin makes a big recovery there for us. And so a lot of guys were playing at a high level. It's good to see. And again, I still think, though, we can really elevate our level of play as a team. And I didn't, just to get over to the offensive side, what I love is, you go out there and you're scoring 40-plus points, and the offense walks off the field and says, hey, it was our worst day at the park. We left a lot of points out there. They weren't very happy with their performance. So that says a lot about the passion of the football team. Same thing defensively. The defense, for what they did, they knew they left a lot of plays out there too. So I think this team's really hungry to play just complete team football and see what we can do.
With that hunger you're talking about, how hungry were they entering the game last week? And then this week, how much more hungry are they? What has been working for you guys in practice where that hunger's been satisfied to a degree, obviously?
Well, winning solves all problems, in my opinion, and we went over a month without a win. And, it says a lot about our guys that, they know what we can be. They know what our goals are, what we want to accomplish. They never let the losses affect them and how they approach their work or their mentality. And so now you get that first conference win. Winning solves a lot of things. So we just got to build off that momentum. I know there's a feeling in our building right now from our staff to our players of let's go get on a roll. Let's go make a run now. And we got to take it one game at a time. FIU is a very, very capable football team. They have really good players as well. There's a lot of similarities between us and them. We got one more win than they do. they were close on some games there, and so I expect to get their best game. I think they got a quality quarterback, quality thrower, they got quality skill. They got some good defensive players, so it's going to take everything we got to go get that win. But I do think we have a feeling now of, hey, let's try to go make this run. Let's get on this winning streak, and let's see what we can do in the second half of the season.
You talked about probably worst day of the park for the offense. Obviously, that looks a lot different if you punch in those 2 third-quarter drives. I guess, what's it going to take to kind of clean things up in that red area there heading into this weekend?
Yeah, that was very disappointing. Our offensive staff was not happy by any means. Just, lack of execution down there. Really felt like kind of lost our concentration maybe, and not that we weren't competing hard and all those kind of things, but to go back-to-back drives and have a turnover, and then, we fumble on the first down play and with a bad snap. When you get in those close games, you can't have that. We're going to play some games down the stretch here where it's going to be back and forth, and the execution in the red zone is going to be critical for us. So that's definitely a point of emphasis for us this week. I know our offense staff is really looking hard into that. I know Bailey wasn't very happy at the end of the game, to be honest with you. And that's good. That's a good thing to have numbers he had and score 40-plus points, with your quarterback not being happy. That's you want that mindset for sure. So there's a lot of men in our building that kind of got their jaw set, that want to make sure that we're always hitting on all cylinders, doing everything right.
Receiving wise this year, I guess Jared's been great. Obviously, his numbers are up there. Leads the nation in receiving yards. Of course, touchdowns is up 35 or 4. But I guess other guys too, before they stepped up this year, they wouldn't, of course, this last game, Dakota Thomas did. Just your thoughts on your receiving core for 6 games?
They've been exceptional. Love how they're playing. They all play for each other. Nobody's a selfish player by any means. You can put any guy out there at any time, and he's going to go make a play. I do think, they know that they're kind of the tip of the sword for us from a team standpoint, that, we live and die by the quarterback and the receivers and how they play. And so their level of play has been exceptional, and I expect it to continue. It's good to see some young guys coming on like a Dakota Thomas. He has 2 touchdowns in the game. That was great to see. We've moved some pieces around a little bit and get some other guys rolling in there. That was good to see. So I think we got good depth. And again, the second half of the season, we're going to need that depth to go win those games.
Coach, you talked about it like every single week until this week, was that you want to start quickly, and you always seem like you were coming from behind a little bit. You finally did that this weekend. Do you feel like that rhythm's going to build up going into FIU?
I hope so. We still didn't score on the first drive. We moved it, and then we got stopped on third down, missed the field goal. But yes, to answer your question, we did create momentum. Then defense went out there, got a stop, and then we were able to, get up 14. That number 14 keeps popping up, but that was good to be on the other side of that this week. I think it takes some of the pressure off of you. I just felt like on the sidelines our guys were able to take a deep breath. Defense was able to settle in. Offense felt like, all right, we got control here. We just need to go do our thing. So to answer your question, yeah, starting fast is huge for us. And to be able to go do that in this past game and our guys to feel that was big for us.
When you talk about the offense, you hear about Bailey's numbers over and over again. You hear about Jarrett over and over again with just how spectacular they've been. As good as they are they almost so good that, as funny as this might sound, you're almost like kind of sick of just how it's always about them, just how amazing they are. What do you make of just how they're always doing so great this week?
Well, your best players, are the guys that are going to get the attention, and they always do a great job of saying, Bailey's only as good as his offensive line, I think we got an exceptional offensive line. Bailey hardly ever gets touched, so that's huge for him. Our offensive line coach, Coach Stephen Hamby, does a great job with those guys. There's tremendous pride in that room, and Bailey's always giving those guys credit, and then you look at Jareth. Jareth is always talking about the receiving core and how good those guys are and how good the quarterback is. And then, defensively, I think there's a strong connection with our offense and our defense. I really do. And we're just now starting to feel it a little bit of playing for each other, that the defense knows, hey, if we can get some turnovers here, it's going to be hard to stop us, I had that feeling this week. You could hear the players talking on the sidelines and pulling for each other. They've always had, but we had a big defensive turnover, Kincaid pops up and says, all right, boys, it's your turn. Let's go, So those are the things you want to hear, And so I think those guys are feeding off each other. They're very complimentary of each other. Obviously, the quarterback's playing at a high level. Jareth is playing at a high level. And your best players, that's what they're supposed to do.
FIU, like you said, one win this year, had the issues with COVID last year on the 0-5. What's the scouting report on those guys this year, and what can you take away from last year's game where you had those, two big defensive scores kind of pull away?
Well, again, they're very capable. Big physical football team. When you look at them, quarterback we faced before, he's very, very capable. They do a nice job in the passing game. Big running back. He's hard to tackle. He's a chain mover type guy. He's a big, strong running back. Defensively, they definitely have pieces there too. It's gonna take a really good game, a really good performance for us to go get the win. And going on the road and playing good is hard to do. And so we got to be able to recreate what we did last week. When you get in conference play, in this conference, from week to week, you don't ever know what's going to happen. So we definitely aren't going to let our guard down. We're going to give everybody our best shot. I know our guys will be ready to play, but we don't walk into any game expecting to say, hey, this is going to be something that we're just going to go out there and win. I think this is going to be a 4-quarter game for sure, and I think we better play our best game if we want to go get this win.
Talking about Braden, he had a couple missed kicks in the game. Confidence is huge for kickers. I guess, how do you keep this confidence up and throughout the rest of the season? I
don't worry about Braden. He's great. He's a pro. He missed the field goal. He was fine. Didn't bat an eye. Went back out there, hit another one. The extra point was unfortunate. It had a high snap. It was hard to get down for John, and so it threw the timing off. But Braden's great. I mean, he's, if anything, that helps him even get sharper, But he was good coming on the sideline. His confidence is fine.
Yeah, you mentioned their running back, Bryce. His numbers aren't, I don't think, as eye-popping as some, but, probably one of the best in the conference last year, I guess. How does he compare to some of the backs that you faced, and how does, the backs that you faced this year, those running attacks, help you this weekend?
Well, it definitely helps us. Some of the running backs that we've played against, he's a big physical guy. I mean, when you walk up on him, you're like, gosh, that's a big running back. And he's hard to tackle. You got to wrap up and you got to gang tackle, and he's always falling forward. And I think he's got good vision. So, we're going to have to do a great job with the scheme and making sure that we're fitting up right. And because he's definitely a guy that's going to move the chains for him for sure.